The massive screens in the Galactic Council's main chamber flickered with new data. Hundreds of alien representatives from across the galaxy leaned forward in their seats, their attention fixed on the incoming transmission. The annual routine scan of developing systems had revealed something unexpected: a new spacefaring species. "Display the findings," ordered Head Counselor Stone, his deep voice echoing through the chamber. His gray skin reflected the blue light from the screens, creating an almost mystical effect around his towering figure. The central display came alive with images of a solar system that most council members had previously ignored. The third planet, covered in blue and green, showed clear signs of advanced civilization. But what caught everyone's attention were the objects orbiting this world. "Are these their ships?" asked Council Member Black, squinting at the display. "There must be some mistake with the scale." The Chief Military Advisor, General Red, stepped forward. He was a veteran of 3 galactic wars, his massive frame bearing the ceremonial armor of the Council's defense force. "No mistake, Council members. These are indeed their vessels. Our scans confirm they are fully functional spacecraft." A wave of laughter rippled through the chamber. Even Head Counselor Stone couldn't hide his amusement. "Those aren't proper warships," declared General Red, pointing at the measurements. "The largest vessel in their fleet is barely the size of our smallest scout ship. Their entire naval force could fit in one of our standard cargo bays." More laughter filled the chamber, but one figure remained silent. Ambassador Gray had served the Council for over 200 years, and something about this situation made him uncomfortable. He stood up, his ancient voice cutting through the laughter. "Perhaps we should exercise caution," he suggested, his fingers tapping nervously on his datapad. "Throughout my career, I've learned that new species often surprise us. Size isn't everything." General Red waved his hand dismissively. "Ambassador, I respect your experience in diplomacy, but this is a military matter. These humans, as they call themselves, have built toys, not warships. Our smallest weapon could vaporize their largest vessel." The chamber's main screen showed a comparison between a standard Council battleship and the largest human vessel. The difference was almost comical, like comparing a space whale to a space minnow. Nevertheless, Ambassador Gray persisted, "We should follow standard first contact protocols. The humans have achieved faster than light travel. By our own laws, this grants them the right to proper diplomatic relations." Head Counselor Stone nodded slowly. "The Ambassador makes a valid point about our laws." He paused, then smiled. "However, there's nothing in our protocols that says we can't make an impression during first contact." General Red's eyes lit up. "If I may suggest, Head Counselor, we could send Battle Group 7 for the welcome ceremony. They're currently the closest to the human system." The chamber's atmosphere shifted from amusement to anticipation. Battle Group 7 was one of the Council's most impressive fleet formations, consisting of 5 massive battleships and their support vessels. Each battleship was larger than the humans' entire orbital infrastructure. "All in favor?" Head Counselor Stone asked. The vote was nearly unanimous. Only Ambassador Gray and a handful of others opposed the motion. "Then it's decided," Stone declared. "We'll send Battle Group 7 to welcome our new neighbors. General Red, prepare a suitable greeting that will help these humans understand their place in the galactic community." As the Council members filed out of the chamber, Ambassador Gray approached General Red. "I hope you remember, General, that appearances can be deceiving. Some of the deadliest creatures in the galaxy are also the smallest." General Red laughed. "Save your parables for the diplomacy chamber. Ambassador, I've fought enough wars to know that size and power go hand in hand. These humans will learn their lessons soon enough." Little did they know, back on Earth, the humans were about to teach the galaxy a lesson of their own, one that would change space warfare forever. The Council's message was already racing through space toward Earth. "Greetings, people of Earth. The Galactic Council acknowledges your achievement of faster-than-light travel. Our representatives will arrive in your system in 7 standard days. Prepare for first contact. What the council didn't realize was that they had just made the classic mistake of judging a book by its cover, or in this case, judging a fleet by its size. Admiral Tom Wilson stood at the window of Earth Defense Command, watching his fleet of tiny ships perform their daily maneuvers. The morning sun reflected off their sleek hulls, making them shine like stars against the blue Earth sky. His attention shifted to the message display behind him, where the Galactic Council's greeting still blinked. "They're coming in 7 days," said Captain Jane White, his second in command, walking into the room with a fresh cup of coffee. "And from what our deep space sensors show, they're bringing quite the welcoming party." Admiral Wilson turned away from the window, a slight smile playing on his weathered face. "How big?" "5 of their battleships. Each one is about the size of old Manhattan." She handed him a data tablet. "But that's not the interesting part. Look at their energy readings." The Admiral studied the numbers, his smile growing wider. "Inefficient. All that size, all that power, wasted." He placed the tablet on his desk, right next to an old photograph. The picture showed the discovery that had changed everything. The alien ruins on Mars. "It's been 15 years since we found those ruins," Captain White said, following his gaze. 15 years since we learned we weren't alone. 15 years of preparing for this moment. Admiral Wilson nodded. The ruins had been a goldmine of information, teaching humanity not just about alien technology, but about alien thinking. Most importantly, they had learned about alien weaknesses. "Call up the design team," he ordered. "I want to review our advantages one more time." Minutes later, Dr. Robert Green, head of ship design, appeared on the main screen. Behind him stood the massive testing chamber where humanity had perfected their revolutionary ships. "Admiral," Dr. Green greeted, "I assume you want the why we're better speech." "Give me the short version, Doctor. Our guests will be here in 7 days." Dr. Green's face lit up with enthusiasm. "Right. First, size. The aliens build huge ships because they can, not because they should. They never had to worry about efficiency because they had unlimited resources. We humans learned to do more with less." He pulled up a diagram comparing the alien battleships to human vessels. Their ships are filled with empty space, redundant systems, and unnecessarily thick armor. Our ships. Every cubic inch serves a purpose. Captain White stepped forward. "Tell him about the engines." "Ah, yes." Dr. Green continued. "While they use brute force for propulsion, we developed compact fusion drives. Our ships can outmaneuver anything they have. Remember the old saying, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee." Admiral Wilson laughed. "I doubt Muhammad Ali ever imagined his words would apply to space warfare." The doctor pulled up another diagram. "There's more. Their weapons are designed to hit big targets. They never considered that someone would build ships as small as ours. It's like trying to hit a fly with a beach ball." "And our weapons?" the Admiral asked, already knowing the answer but wanting it on record. "Precision instruments," Dr. Green replied proudly. "While they try to overwhelm with size, we target critical systems. One shot, one kill. Plus, our eye-targeting systems are generations ahead of their tech." Admiral Wilson walked back to the window, watching his fleet again. The ships might look small compared to the alien vessels, but each one was a masterpiece of human engineering. 30 years ago, they would have seemed like science fiction. "Captain White," he said, "prepare the response message to the Council. Inform them that Earth welcomes their representatives. Tell them we'll send our newest battle group to meet them at the designated coordinates." "Which group, sir?" The Admiral's eyes twinkled. "Battle Group Swift. Let's show them what our tiny ships can do." As Captain White left to send the message, Admiral Wilson picked up the Mars photo again. The ruins had taught humanity that being small didn't mean being weak. It had taught them to think differently, to innovate rather than imitate. Let them bring their giant ships. he murmured to himself. Size isn't everything. Sometimes, the smaller the package, the bigger the surprise. In orbit above Earth, Battle Group Swift began their final preparations. 10 ships, each a fraction of the size of a Council battleship, but carrying humanity's greatest technological achievements. Their crews worked with quiet confidence, knowing that in 7 days they would either make history or become it. The response message streaked across space. Earth welcomes the Galactic Council. We look forward to demonstrating our capabilities. Coordinates accepted. Battle Group Swift will meet your representatives. The stage was set for a demonstration that would change galactic warfare forever. The meeting point was a quiet sector of neutral space, far from any inhabited systems. 5 massive Council battleships hung against the backdrop of distant stars, their enormous hulls gleaming under the light of a nearby sun. Each ship stretched nearly 10 kilometers from bow to stern, their weapon ports large enough to swallow a small space station. General Kron stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Star Crusher, barely containing his amusement as his sensors detected the approaching human vessels. "Look at them," he chuckled, pointing at the main display. "They're like space debris compared to our ships." His bridge crew joined in the laughter as 10 human vessels appeared on their screens, looking like tiny silver needles against the vastness of space. Captain Jack Reed of the EDF Swift, the lead ship of Battle Group Swift, watched the alien vessels grow larger on his view screen. Unlike the alien bridges, which were vast chambers filled with hundreds of crew members, his command center was compact and efficient, staffed by just 6 people and supported by advanced AI systems. "Their ships are broadcasting power readings," his sensor officer reported. "They're not even trying to hide their capabilities. It's like they want to intimidate us." Reed smiled. "Let them show off. Are our systems recording everything?" "Yes, sir. Every scan, every emission. The AIs are building detailed profiles of their technology." The main communication screen lit up with General Kron's massive face. The alien commander's expression was one of barely concealed disdain. "Greetings, tiny human vessels," Kron boomed. "We are impressed that you managed to make it this far in such small craft." More laughter echoed from his bridge. Captain Reed maintained his professional composure. "Greetings, General. Battle Group Swift is honored to represent Earth in this first contact." "Battle Group," Kron repeated, raising an eyebrow ridge. "You consider these ships a battle group. One of our point defense turrets is larger than your largest vessel." Reed nodded politely. "Size can be deceiving, General. Would you be interested in a demonstration?" The alien commander's eyes lit up. This was exactly what he had hoped for. "Yes, a mock battle would be most educational. For you, of course. We'll use training protocols. No real weapons, just sensor locks and simulated hits." "Agreed," Reed replied. "Standard war game rules? Ships withdraw when sensors confirm a killing blow." "Acceptable," Kron said, still grinning. "We'll even give you a sporting chance. Only 2 of our battleships against your entire fleet." He pronounced the last word as if it were a joke. As the transmission ended, Reed's crew looked at him expectantly. "Sir," his tactical officer spoke up, "they're positioning their ships. The other 3 battleships are moving back to observe." Reed straightened in his command chair. "Send Battle Plan Delta to all ships. Let's show them why humanity chose quality over quantity." The 2 alien battleships moved into attack formation, their massive forms casting shadows over the human vessels. Each one could have easily housed a small city within its armored hull. "They're powering up their weapons," the sensor officer reported. "Training modes confirmed." "But sir, even their training modes are outputting more energy than our actual weapons." "That's because they never learned to be efficient," Reed replied calmly. "All ships, execute Delta formation. Let's show them how humans dance." The 10 human ships suddenly broke formation, each moving in a different direction with incredible speed. The alien crews watched in surprise as their targets scattered like startled fish, accelerating far faster than they had thought possible. Amusing, General Kron sneered, watching from his observation position. But useless. You can't run forever, and you certainly can't hurt us with those tiny weapons. We're not running, General, Reed responded over the open channel. We're getting into position. Ready to begin on your mark. Kron laughed one final time. Very well. Let the mock battle commence. Try to last at least a few minutes. It would be embarrassing to end this too quickly. As the signal was given, the alien battleships charged their massive weapon systems, their targeting computers locking onto the human vessels. They expected a quick and humbling lesson for these upstart humans. What they didn't realize was that the lesson would be theirs to learn. As Battle Group Swift moved into position, the true genius of human engineering was about to reveal itself. Inside the EDF Swift, Captain Reed activated his ship's advanced combat systems. Holographic displays sprang to life around his command chair, showing every detail of both human and alien vessels. All ships, activate your combat as, Reed ordered. Let's show them why size doesn't matter in space. The alien observers watched with curiosity as strange energy readings began emanating from the human vessels. What they didn't know was that they were witnessing humanity's three greatest technological achievements in action. First came the shields. Unlike the alien ship's brute force energy barriers, which consumed massive amounts of power, the human shields were something entirely different. Dr. Green's voice echoed in Reed's memory from their final briefing. We don't stop their weapons. We redirect them. Adaptive shield matrices online, reported his defense officer. The AIs are already analyzing their weapon signatures. The human shipped shields weren't actually shields at all, but rather millions of tiny gravity manipulators that could bend space itself slightly. Any incoming fire would simply slip around the ships, like water flowing around a rock. Next came the engines. The aliens had already noticed the human ship's speed, but they hadn't yet grasped the full implications. Inside each human vessel, artificial microsingularities spun in perfect balance, creating propulsion that bent the normal rules of physics. Singularity drives at full capacity, the engineering officer announced. Power output masked by interference fields. They still can't get a proper reading on us. Reed smiled. The alien sensors showed his ships as being powered by simple fusion reactors. They had no idea that each human vessel carried what was essentially a tiny controlled black hole. But it was the third technology that would truly change everything. The combat artificial intelligences. While alien ships relied on thousands of crew members and basic computers, each human ship was operated by a crew of 6 working in partnership with an AI so advanced it bordered on consciousness. Combat AIs report ready, called out the systems officer. All ships are now linked into the group mind. This was humanity's masterstroke. All 10 ships could think and act as one, sharing data and coordinating movements with speed and precision no organic crew could match. Each AI could run millions of combat simulations per second, predicting enemy movements before they happened. On the main screen, General Kron's massive battleships loomed closer. Their weapon ports were glowing with charged energy, ready to teach these tiny humans a lesson. Look at their power distribution, Reed's tactical officer said, shaking his head. They're wasting so much energy. Their shield coverage has gaps big enough to fly through, if you're small enough. That was the key. Human engineers had studied the alien ruins on Mars and realized something crucial. All alien civilizations built big because they could. They had never faced the resource limitations that humans had. They never had to learn efficiency. Their targeting systems are designed to hit capital ships, the tactical officer continued. Everything's calibrated for large targets. Against our ships, he grinned. Well, it's like trying to catch flies with a sledgehammer. Reed nodded. And our weapons. Charged and ready. Molecule cutters at full power. Targeting A's have already mapped every weak point in their hull design. The molecule cutters were another human innovation. Instead of massive energy beams or explosive projectiles, They fired streams of particles that could slice through any material by breaking molecular bonds. Against the aliens' thick armor, they were like surgical scalpels against leather. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "General Kron is signaling. He wants to know if we're ready to begin." Reed took a moment to check his displays one final time. 10 small ships against 2 massive battleships. To the aliens, it must have looked like a joke. They had no idea they were about to witness a revolution in space warfare. "Signal all ships," Reed ordered. "Combat mode active. Remember your training. We're not here to humiliate them. We're here to demonstrate why humanity deserves respect." The Command AI's voice came through his personal headset. "Battle simulation complete. Success probability, 98.7%. Shall we proceed, Captain?" Reed straightened in his chair. "Tell General Kron we're ready. Let's show them what these tiny ships can do." The stage was set. In moments, the galaxy's understanding of space combat would change forever. The mock battle began with a spectacular display of raw power from the alien ships. General Kron's battleships lit up space with massive energy beams, each blast carrying enough simulated power to vaporize a small moon. The alien crews cheered, certain they would hit at least some of the tiny human vessels. They hit nothing but empty space. "Impossible," Kron roared as his targeting officers reported 0 hits. The human ships moved like quicksilver, flowing around the energy beams as if they could predict where each shot would go. Inside the EDF Swift, Captain Reed watched calmly as his ships executed their battle plan perfectly. "Status report," he ordered. "All ships performing exactly as planned, sir," his tactical officer replied with a grin. "The AIs are predicting their firing patterns with 99% accuracy. Those big guns of theirs might as well be shooting at ghosts." The alien ships fired again and again, their massive weapon systems charging and releasing in frustrating volleys. But the human vessels danced through the barrage, moving in patterns that seemed to defy physics. Where the aliens expected them to be, they weren't. Where they thought they couldn't be, they were. "Now," Reed commanded, "show them formation echo." The 10 human ships suddenly moved as one, flowing into a new pattern that looked chaotic to the untrained eye. But there was nothing chaotic about it. Each movement was precisely calculated by the linked AIs, creating a 3-dimensional web of movement that made targeting impossible. On the Star Crusher's bridge, General Kron's frustration grew. How are they moving like that? No organic pilot could react that fast. His sensor officers were equally baffled. "Sir, their movements. They're synchronized somehow. It's like they're all part of a single organism." The human ships began their own attack runs. Instead of matching the aliens' broad firing patterns, they moved in quick, precise strikes. Each pass brought them frighteningly close to the massive battleships' hulls. "Sir," one of Kron's officers shouted, "they're inside our minimum firing range. The main guns can't track them this close." That was exactly what the humans had planned. The huge alien weapons were designed to hit targets at long range. Up close, they were useless, like trying to swat a fly that had landed on your nose. "Secondary weapons," Kron ordered. "Use the point defense systems." But the smaller weapons were equally ineffective. The human ship's adaptive shields bent the energy blasts away, creating beautiful patterns of deflected light in space. "Time to show them what we can do," Reed said calmly. "All ships, execute attack pattern Delta." Target points marked and shared. The human fleet split into 3 groups. The first group continued its close-range harassment, keeping the alien gunners distracted. The second group positioned itself at key points around the battleships, their presence forcing the aliens to divide their attention. The third group, led by the Swift, began the real demonstration. "Molecule cutters at 30% power," Reed ordered. "Remember, this is a demonstration, not a destruction." Precise beams of particles shot out from the human ships, so thin they were barely visible. Where they touched the alien ship's shields, They passed through as if the barriers weren't even there. What? Kron watched in disbelief as his sensor officers reported simulated hull breaches across his ship. Their weapons, they're bypassing our shields completely. Each human shot targeted a specific weak point in the alien design: power conduits, sensor nodes, communication arrays. In a real battle, these would have been killing blows. In this mock combat, they served as a clear message: we could have destroyed you at any time. Sir, Reed's tactical officer reported, targeting computers showed 27 critical hits. In real combat, both enemy vessels would have been disabled by now. Reed nodded and opened a channel to General Kron. General, I believe this demonstration has made our point. Shall we call it here? On his bridge, Kron stood in shocked silence. His mighty battleships, pride of the Council fleet, had failed to land a single hit on the human vessels. Meanwhile, his own ships had been effectively destroyed by enemies he had dismissed as insignificant. This is impossible, he muttered. Ships that small, weapons that precise. But the evidence was undeniable. In less than 10 minutes, everything he knew about space warfare had been proven wrong. The tiny fleet had just changed the rules of the game. The silence that followed the mock battle was deafening. The 3 observing alien battleships had moved closer, their crews watching in stunned disbelief as the combat data streamed across their screens. Inside the Star Crusher, General Kron sat heavily in his command chair, his pride as shattered as his understanding of space warfare. Captain Reed. He finally spoke, his voice lacking its earlier arrogance. Would you be willing to explain what we just witnessed? Reed smiled. Of course, General. Perhaps you'd like to come aboard the Swift. We can discuss it in person. The suggestion made several alien officers gasp. Invite their commander onto one of those tiny ships. But Kron surprised them all by agreeing immediately. 30 minutes later, General Kron stood in the Swift's compact bridge, ducking his head to avoid hitting the ceiling. His eyes darted everywhere, taking in the minimal crew, the advanced holographic displays, and the efficient use of space. This is impossible, he muttered. A ship this size shouldn't be able to function with so few crew members. Captain Reed gestured to a holographic display that sprang to life in the center of the bridge. Let me show you why size doesn't matter, General. The display showed a detailed comparison between one of Kron's battleships and the Swift. The alien vessel was a maze of corridors, massive halls, and redundant systems. The human ship was a marvel of compact engineering, with every cubic centimeter serving a purpose. Your ships are built to impress, Reed explained. Ours are built to fight. He pointed to various sections of the Swift's design. We don't need huge crews because we work alongside artificial intelligence. We don't need massive engines because we learn to harness gravity itself. Our weapons don't need to be big because they're designed to be precise. The display shifted to show a replay of the battle. Watch here, Reed continued. Your weapons were trying to hit us with enough power to destroy a small moon. But in space, that's wasteful. Our molecule cutters use less energy than your ship's lighting system, but they can slice through any material with surgical precision. Kron watched the replay, his expression shifting from disbelief to understanding. The way your ships moved, they were coordinating somehow. Integration, Reed confirmed. All our ships think and act as one. Every movement is calculated to maximize efficiency and minimize vulnerability. The display showed the human ship's defensive maneuvers. And these patterns, predictive algorithms, Reed explained. Our combat AIs can calculate weapon trajectories faster than your guns can fire. We're not dodging your shots. We're moving to where your shots won't be. Kron turned slowly, taking in the bridge crew. Each human sat calmly at their station, working in perfect harmony with their AI assistants. No wasted motion, no wasted space, no wasted energy. All these years, Kron said quietly, we thought bigger meant better. We kept building larger ships, more powerful weapons, while we learned to do more with less. Reed finished. On Earth, we have a saying, Necessity is the mother of invention. We couldn't match your resources, so we had to be smarter about using them. The general walked to one of the viewports, looking out at his massive battleships. They no longer seemed as impressive as they had just hours ago. "Your ships," he said, "they could have destroyed us at any time during that battle, couldn't they?" Reed nodded solemnly. "Yes, but that wasn't our goal. We wanted to demonstrate that humanity deserves respect, not to humiliate anyone." Kron turned back to face the human captain. "When I first saw your fleet, I thought it was a joke. Now I understand it was we who were foolish. Your tiny ships represent the future of space warfare." "Not just warfare," Reed corrected. "Everything we've developed can be used for peaceful purposes too. More efficient engines mean better exploration ships. Precise cutting beams make for excellent mining tools. AI integration could revolutionize space station operations." The general straightened up, nearly hitting his head again on the low ceiling. "The council needs to know about this. All of it. We've been doing everything wrong for centuries." Reed smiled. "Then perhaps it's time for humans and the council to work together. We have much to learn from each other." As Kron prepared to return to his ship, he took one last look around the Swift's bridge. "Small but mighty," he mused. "We will not underestimate humans again." 3 months after the historic demonstration, the Great Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with unprecedented activity. Delegates from 100 species crowded the chamber, all eager to witness humanity's formal induction into the council. At the center of attention stood Admiral Wilson and Captain Reed, their tiny dress uniforms standing in stark contrast to the elaborate robes of the alien representatives. Head Counselor Stone addressed the assembly, his voice carrying a new note of respect. "The events of 3 months ago changed our understanding of space technology forever. Today, we welcome not just new allies, but new teachers." General Kron, now the head of the Council's Military Modernization Committee, stepped forward. "In just 90 days, human engineers have helped us reduce our battleship power consumption by 60%. Our new hybrid AI systems have increased combat effectiveness by over 300%. The chamber's main display showed the first of the new council ships built using human principles. It was half the size of traditional battleships but carried twice the effective firepower. More importantly, it required only a quarter of the crew. But perhaps most impressive, Ambassador Gray added, is how humanity chose to share their technology. They could have used their advantages to dominate, but instead they offered partnership. Admiral Wilson rose to speak. His voice, though not as loud as the alien counselors, commanded complete attention. "Earth learned long ago that true strength isn't about size or power. It's about how you use what you have." He gestured to a series of holograms showing joint human-alien projects. "Already, our molecule cutter technology is revolutionizing asteroid mining. Our gravity drive systems are making space travel more efficient than ever. And our AI integration protocols are helping coordinate space traffic across the galaxy." Captain Reed, standing beside him, activated a personal hologram showing the Swift. This ship was once mocked for being tiny. Now it's the prototype for a new generation of vessels. Sometimes the smallest things can make the biggest differences. The chamber's mood was markedly different from that first meeting months ago, where there had been laughter and derision. Now there was respect and eagerness to learn. "The future," Reed continued, "lies not in building bigger ships, but in building smarter ones. Not in overwhelming force, but in precision and efficiency. These are lessons humanity learned through necessity, and we're honored to share them." Head Counselor Stone raised his hands for silence. "Let this be a lesson to us all. We have grown complacent in our technological development, assuming that our way was the only way. The humans have shown us that innovation comes from challenge, not comfort." In orbit above the Council world, Battle Group Swift hung in formation with the new hybrid vessels. The once mocked human ships now served as training vessels, teaching alien crews the art of precision warfare and efficient operations. "There will always be those who judge by size alone," Admiral Wilson concluded his speech. But as Earth's old stories tell us, it's often the smallest dragon that breathes the hottest fire. The chamber erupted in applause, or various species equivalents thereof. As the ceremony concluded, Ambassador Gray approached Admiral Wilson with a knowing smile. "You knew, didn't you?" Wilson asked him. "That first day, when they were all laughing at our ships. You tried to warn them." Gray nodded. "I've learned in my long career that the most dangerous thing in the galaxy is underestimating someone, or something. Your tiny fleet didn't just change our military doctrine, it changed our entire perspective." As the crowds mingled, discussing future projects and possibilities, Captain Reeves stood by a viewport watching ships dock at the station. Massive alien vessels maneuvered carefully while human ships darted gracefully between them. "Quite a change from 3 months ago," General Kron said, joining him at the window. "Back then, I thought size was everything. Now I command a ship half the size of my old one but twice as effective." Reed smiled. "The best things often come in small packages, General." "Indeed," Kron agreed. "And to think, we almost missed this opportunity because we were too busy laughing at your tiny fleet." As the new council members dispersed to their various ships and stations, one thing was clear: the galaxy would never again judge a fleet by its size. The age of the massive battleship was over. The era of efficiency, precision, and innovation had begun. And it all started because someone dared to mock the tiny fleet.